Victim coming out, victim coming out.
The fire ground is dynamic. Priorities can change by the second. This series is about our first priority, life priority. We'll hear from the firefighters that have made a grab in live fire conditions, the decisions they made and the lessons they learned. Listen as they tell you about their experience, learn from their mistakes and their successes. Expect fire and expect victims. Expect the unexpected and plan accordingly. This is Life Priority.
All right, Captain Lawrence, thanks for sitting down with us for the Life Priority series. You can go ahead and tell us about the grab you had.
Back in 2013, had a dispatch for apartment fire not too far down from 21, apartment complex we go to on a pretty regular basis. Rolled out mid-afternoon, visible column from the station. Engine 29 had actually arrived before us. They were just leaving the station, getting fuel. They arrived, they said that they had a working fire on the first floor of a 2-story apartment, 4 up, 4 down type apartment. With their report, they went to the Alpha side. Engine and Rescue 21, we opted to go to the Charlie side. Some of the discussion on the way in, Captain Schumacher had mentioned, let's just do a VES of the downstairs windows. When we arrived, I got out, got my pack, started putting my pack on. I believe it was Nick Mack and TJ Loris decided to take a window. Schumacher started working on a window while I was still coming out, putting my PPE on. As soon as we broke the windows, we had heavy smoke coming out of our window. I can't really remember what was going on the window next door. I jumped up on the air conditioning unit, dropped my Halligan down, sounded the floor, and I went. Just did a quick search of the interior, went over to close the door in the bedroom. Went to close it, and then I decided to reopen it and look down the hall. I dropped down on my right side, looked down the hall, pulled my tick up, and as soon as I pulled my tick up, I had a partial body sticking out of what was the kitchen area, and I could see Engine 29 make an attack through the Alpha side front door. So I went back to the window. I told Captain Schumacher, I got a lady, she's down the hall, jump in, I'm gonna go down the hall and get her. I turned back around, went back, crawled down the hall, I grabbed her by the arms, started yarding her down, got her into the bedroom as Schumacher was coming in, and attempted to shut the door, what was left of the door, and he and I had worked out a packaging and a lift system to get her out. We essentially got her out doing the Denver drill operation where there was one underneath and hoisting her up and the other was pushing. We had somebody at the window pulling. So it was a pretty quick operation from arrival to her being extricated out.
Right on. Sounds like a fast operation. We haven't run into a lot of folks that are actually visualizing a victim with a tick. Obviously, you use that tool exactly like it's designed. But you mentioned that there was you could only see a partial victim. Was that because they were behind the rest of the structure?
Correct.
Like in a corner of the hallway? Or?
So her upper torso and an arm was laying out with her head. So I could see her head, her arm, and maybe a foot or so of her torso laying on her back, supine, from the kitchen area.
And immediately recognized it as a victim, or it took a second?
It took me a second to realize that that was a person. It was, once I focused on it for a second, I was like, that is 100% a person laying there. So at that moment, it was get back to the window, get some help, and go.
Visibility at that point, without that tool, you wouldn't have seen her? Is that correct? Or how?
Probably
smoke
not.
Level at?
We were in the exhaust of fire attack. So there was a lot of smoke and heat rolling down that way. So I could see, probably if I would have laid there long enough, the smoke probably would have broke, but it was just from how we trained and like go in, look first, then use the tick to get some orientation, and it was right there.
So you chose to come back to the window and talk to Captain Schumacher and let him know. Why did you decide to go back there instead of just immediately going to her?
The amount of radio traffic that was going on, there was no way that I was going to delay, and it was their small apartment, bedroom, so they're 10 by 12. So by the time I got up, made my way back to the window, it was, only a couple steps and I'm there. And I believe at that point, Brad had came in the window and Nick and TJ had pulled over to the window that we were in. We were working in, awaiting to pull her the rest of the way out.
How was communication with you and Captain Schumacher? Obviously, you guys worked together for a while. You guys were down there at 21. Packaging, just you guys knew what you needed to do, or you guys communicating verbal, or just kind of seeing what worked?
It was a higher window, so just from training, we were like, this is what we're going to do as our go-to. So it was a high window. It was, about armpit height going in. So we knew at that point it's just not going to be a lift, and there's going to have to be somebody underneath her to get her up and out. So, and we discussed it as soon as we made the turn. Like I said, we've gone to these apartments several times. We've walked through them, been on hundreds of medical aids there over the 14 years that I was at 21. So we knew when we made the turn, this is what we're doing, this is the plan. And it was, as soon as the air brake set, it was go time.
Great. What's the biggest lesson that you learned on this one?
Well, obviously we'd all been together at 21 for a long time. We all knew what our plans were for certain types of construction, certain buildings, certain windows, certain setups. And as soon as we were like, hey, we're going to do a split VES, we just went to work. There was no question on what the expectation from each person was going to be. The plan was always Brad stays out, I go in, and we didn't deviate from that. We played it just like we drilled.
Sounds like it worked out. Is there anything you think you would have done different?
No, it was everything. By the time I got up there with my pack and went on air, Brad had cleared the window already, and it was sound and in. So it was pretty seamless.
All right, well, thanks a lot for your time. It's lessons we can all learn from this one, so thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Fire service is about tradition. One of our traditions is about passing on our experiences and our lessons learned. When we do this, the story doesn't focus on the individual, but the team and the outcome. These lessons are shared so that you can better serve the public and your fellow firefighters. If you have a rescue and you're hesitant to tell your story, remember, the lessons you share may help save someone else's life or your own. Share your story by contacting us at lifepriority@metrofire.ca.gov.